I said that I was going to give away tickets to see Jonathan Butler tonight at Smooth Jazz at the Improv, and then guess who walked in my studio? Jonathan Butler.
Yes, me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning.
Oh
Marcus
no.
Anderson woke me up at 7 o'clock for an 8:15 a.m. tea time, and this is how I'm feeling.
That's
Pretty
how
chilled.
so you're not usually a 7 a.m. riser, I'm taking it.
I do if I want to go to the toilet. It's the only time I want to get up at 7 is when have to go pee. But
Real talk
I
with
want to go
Jonathan
back to
Butler.
sleep. I go straight back to sleep, and I'm up at 9, maybe 9, 10 o'clock. Yeah, yeah.
So how was the golf? Was it worth getting
It
up
was
so
so
early?
beautiful.
Okay.
It was Duke's College,
Yeah, over on Duke's campus, over
Duke's
at the
campus.
Washington
It's
Duke. Yeah.
so pretty. I mean, it's really really stunning. I'm gonna tell these guys they're gonna have to put me there next time.
They're gonna have to put you over at
They're
the
gonna put me
Washington
on.
Duke on
Maybe
the
if I
regular.
do really well tonight, maybe they'll.
They'll bring you back. Well,
Oh,
and you are coming back again. You did Smooth Jazz at the Raleigh
yes.
Improv a few months back. You
Yeah.
gave us two shows,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
And I asked you, I was hosting that night, and I was like,
Yes.
"How do you want me to introduce you?" And you said, "Musician from South Africa." That's it. Let the
Yes.
music speak for itself. That's
Yes.
it.
Absolutely, and I still believe that because I want people to know how much I love my country
Mm-hmm.
and what my country has accomplished, and the message, and just how our history moving forward. Especially this year, we are 30 years celebrating 30 years of democracy
Which is
in South
incredible.
Africa. Now, just think about that. It's only been 30 years 30 years ago, we were not allowed in a white
Mm-hmm.
swimming pool,
Mm-hmm.
a beach,
Mm-hmm.
a restaurant, or could date a white woman or whatever you want to call it. But so I feel like I have to speak to Americans about my country through my music.
I think it's I can remember when everything changed in South
Yeah,
Africa. And I mean I don't remember a lot of super historic events. I feel
yeah,
like there've been more super historic events in my adult years, but
yeah,
that really it stood out, and my mom was a history major, so she
yeah.
was always giving me all the tea and telling me everything that was going on in South Africa. Now I was reading online that Nelson Mandela said that your music inspired him while he was in prison.
Do you know one day when you get a chance to visit South Africa and you take the ferry
Hmm.
over to Robben Island where he was incarcerated? He was incarcerated in three different prisons. The Robben Island was the last prison he was incarcerated, and then they took him to another prison called Paulsmoor, which is when he was released.
Hmm.
But in the prison itself, there used to be an hourly radio show. They would get radio time.
Hmm.
They would be allowed to listen to radio for an hour, and it would be George Benson, perhaps Earl Klum, perhaps all these American artists, and I would come on the
Wow.
radio, and so they would debate me and Earl Klum and George Benson whether which one sounds more similar to each other, and I think if you see the prison, you'll understand why the music was so important and hopeful to them because it was built so that they were not allowed to see children. So the walls and the
Mm,
windows, it was built in such a way that seeing a child means hope,
right.
and music in its message and its power is hope. And so that's why Mandela said that. And I met him when he came out of prison,
Right.
and I was in the state house with him and Prince Charles and Prince Henry,
Hmm.
and I was just blown away to be in that moment that he had just come out of Paulsmoor prison to the state house. It's so the 30-year democracy and the history of my country is very important. That's why I tell you, just say I'm from Cape Town. It should
Right.
be enough.
And how did coming from South Africa influence your music?
It was the stepping stone. It was the cornerstone. It was the it was the anointing and the hum of the ancestral rhythms and melodies that I still play in my music to this day. I mean, I listen to Herbie Hancock, Stevie Wonder, Donny Hathaway,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I first listened to the music. The first music I heard was music from Marie Makiba, Abdul Ibrahim. We used to know him as Dollar Brand, Kaifa Semenya, Leta Mbula, Lady Smith Mambazo. That was the music that I grew up listening to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's still in my music there is that thread. And it's getting much longer and stronger because I really feel I, I almost feel like my ancestral spirit is truly coming alive these days as I'm getting older. I'll be 63 October, and there's a real strong pull for me about South African music. Yeah.
So we were talking earlier before we got on air. You enjoyed the East Coast.
Yes.
Of course, you love home. You love South Africa,
Yeah.
and you said you really enjoy Hawaii. So
Yeah.
you've got some places in the world that are very special to you. Do you have any experiences in all of this travel, all of the people you've worked with, all that you've been exposed to in this music industry that stands out more than anything else?
Oh my God, that question is kind of it's a good question. What stands out to me a lot is like I feel like I grew up in front of the American audience because I came here when I was 25 or 24, even maybe younger, in the 80 87,
Mm-hmm.
or even so I felt like I grew up in front of the American audiences. So I didn't really have the confidence. I was overwhelmed with the culture here,
Mm-hmm.
and so it took me a long time to become comfortable, like sitting here and talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so things that stand out to me um, was one of the things really stand out for me. I think it's funny, but my very first time landing in America, I was flying from South Africa, 21 hours to JFK, and I got in a yellow cab, and he took me to my destination. It's the first time I've ever seen an airport that big and yellow cabs everywhere. And when I got into the cab and he dropped me off at my destination, I paid him exactly what the meter in the front of the car said.
Right.
And then I said goodbye. And he just stood there looking at me and he said, "Your mama, man." And so, as ignorant as I was getting off the plane, I didn't know what he meant. So I just said, "How's your mother? Thank you for asking." I mean, I didn't know your mama means what it means now.
Right.
So that's one of the highlights. That's when my highlight began. Jonathan Butler coming to America. That's the movie.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to realize that you needed to tip the cab drivers?
It didn't take me very long. It did not take me very long because I didn't want to hear my mama one more time.
That is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, but also one of the major highlights also was getting the call that I was to open for Whitney Houston.
Mm.
That was a very big phone call. And
You have the world's biggest Whitney Houston fan in here behind me, so
and because of her, my record went platinum and was nominated for 2 Grammys. With Michael Jackson and Smokey and Terrence D'Arby. And from that, I went on to open for Eric Clapton. And then I worked with Phyllis Hyman and Angela Bofill and George Duke. And, so the highlights are so many highlights that I cannot even begin to tell you how amazing it was working with Phyllis Hyman and watching her throw a shoe across the stage to a keyboard player that played the wrong chords in Aruba. I thought that was just classic. But Najee, geez, it's everybody that I just Grover Washington, Ramsey Lewis, just people that God just. I mean, I'm this little kid just coming to America,
and you're working with all of these
and God
incredible
just
names.
opened these doors that I was singing at the UN, and I was like, oh my word, I like to say it this way: I've been around the world a lot, but it's important to see it.
Mm.
I'm in Durham this morning, playing golf at this beautiful place. I get to see what it looks like. I don't
Hmm.
just go to the venue.
You get to experience it.
Exactly.
Right.
You know,
And so many artists, that's all they do. They get off the plane, they jump in ground
hotel.
transportation, go to
Yeah,
hotel, go to the venue, back to the
absolutely.
hotel.
And it's amazing because I now know a little bit more. Even in Chicago, I'll play at some of the golf courses there with friends and people, and they take me out to dinner, and I get to now. I think it's important for young people to learn this lesson. You know, you can travel the world, but do you really see it?
Mm, that is so important. Well, we now know the next time you come to town where to find you.
Yep.
We'll look for you in Durham
Yeah.
on the golf course
Yeah. At
over
that hotel.
at the Washington Duke. Fabulous. Tonight, performing at the Raleigh Improv, smooth jazz at the Raleigh Improv. Welcome back, Jonathan Butler. So excited that I got you in the studio this time,
I'm glad to
and
talk to you too.
I know that tonight's going to be another incredible show. How do we follow you so that we can keep up with everything you've got going on? You got about 50, 11 zillion tour stops.
Instagram, jonathanbutler.com,
Mm-hmm.
um, Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm there, and so people can always. I actually posted a little something about our golf course today, and also, you know, I'm hosting my Desert Jazz Festival October 3 to October 6th in Palm Springs, and Ray Parker Jr., Marcus Anderson, Kirk Whalum, Gerald Albright. It's going to be a great time. And then I go on a safari. I do
I
that.
saw that on your
Yeah, yeah.
website. When is the safari?
Safari is October
Okay.
7th. I've been doing it for 12 years now. So I host 40 people every year to South Africa. Actually, 80 people to South Africa every year.
And the information about the safari, if you're interested, is on his website at
Yes,
jonathanbutler.com.
safari.com.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
taking some time out for us.
you're welcome.
I didn't know. I saw you were playing golf. I was like, he's going to take a nap after this. We're not going to see him, but I'm glad you made it.
No, no, no. I wasn't gonna miss it. So
And caller 10, I got your tickets to check out Jonathan Butler tonight. 1-800-467-FOXY. Thank you so much.
you got it.